Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Skip says the Warriors have managed to turn OKC into the villains. Shannon urges us to address what led Kaepernick to kneel. Chris Carter wonders if Ezekiel Elliott can handle being a star in Dallas. Plus, Jay Glazer gives us more information on the Brady jersey theft scandal. And one more thing before we get going. Now that the combine is over and free agency is winding down, it's time for NFL fans to get ready for the draft. FS1 NFL insider Peter Schrager released his 2-round mock draft on foxsports.com this morning. You can catch Schrager on The Herd later today breaking it down with Colin. And then head on over to the FS1 Facebook page for a draft deep dive live stream with Schrags. Peter is one of the most plugged-in reporters in the business. He constantly talks to GMs, so it's easy. Let him make you smarter on the 2017 NFL Draft. His mock draft is up today on foxsports.com, so be sure to check it out. Good morning, guys. Looking good.
You look sharp today, Sharp. What, are you going to run for office? What? You know what? Maybe you could be our next president.
No,
I don't know.
As a president, you can only wear black or navy blue.
I like that, though. That looks presidential.
Well, you know, President Reagan used to wear browns.
Oh.
Yesterday, President Trump responded to a Bleacher Report article explaining why Colin Kaepernick remains unsigned. The article quoted an unnamed AFC general manager who said, quote, "Some teams think there might be a protest or that Trump will tweet about the team if they sign the former 49er. Take a listen to the president.
Your San Francisco quarterback, I'm sure nobody ever heard of him. I'm just reporting the news. There was an article today. I love to report the news, and then they said I made a mistake, right? I said, no, the people reporting the news made a mistake if it's wrong. But there was an article today, it was reported, that NFL owners don't want to pick him up because they don't want to get a nasty tweet from Donald Trump. Do you believe that? I just saw that. I said, if I remember that one, I'm going to report it to the people of Kentucky. Because they like it when people actually stand for the American flag, right?
Shannon, what's your reaction?
I am so glad Donald Trump took this stance. Because now I don't have to worry about anybody ever telling me, Shannon, stick to sports. Leave politics alone. Because President Trump wouldn't stick to being a reality star. President Trump wouldn't stick to politics. So he got to jump into sports. So I feel very comfortable now moving forward, jumping back and forth, sports to politics, politics to sports. And again, this confirms what I've said all along. And President Trump, reaffirmed my suspicions. Everyone, I shouldn't say every, no such thing as all and every. A majority of America is upset with the act, but not what led to the act. Skip, bear with me just a second. We see police officers and lawyers that will defend them and pundits that defend the officers and their actions, saying when we see a tape, the first thing they say, we don't know what led to this action. Nobody wants to hear about Colin Kaepernick and what led Colin Kaepernick to do what he's doing. Let's just focus on the act and let what led to the act go unmentioned. President Trump has no interest in addressing what led to Colin Kaepernick taking a knee because his base in which why he's having a rally, I would think that a sitting president would be more focused on his agenda and governing than going to rallies, but hey, that's him. He just talks about the action that led to the protest. He won't mention that because you know why? Because that's unimportant to him. He doesn't care about Colin Kaepernick's struggle and what Colin Kaepernick is trying to draw attention to. I get it. Colin Kaepernick's in America. He's made a lot of money. And a lot of times when you make a lot of money, people want you to shut up, count your money, and don't worry about it if it doesn't affect you. But Colin Kaepernick said, no, I can no longer do that. And people are like, well, look at his hair. He has cornrows one day, he has an afro the next day. He can't even, Colin Kaepernick had maybe he had an epiphany. Maybe he had a realization that I have a higher calling than playing quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe that's it. Colin Kaepernick does not see himself today as he saw himself yesterday or 4 or 5 years ago, and that's okay. But for President Trump to take time out of his schedule to address, now he said, Skip, some quarterback for the 49ers, nobody has ever heard of him. Could have been Joe Montana, could be Steve Young, could be, but we know who he was talking about, as did he. And I said this earlier, Skip, if you want to know a lot about a person, give him power. See, President Trump, he loves this power because he says the owners fear of getting a nasty tweet from Donald Trump. Skip, you're talking about men that's worth billions and billions of dollars, and they fear. And that's how he wants to govern. See, if you're in Iran, you're in Russia, or you're one of these small African countries, you fear the ruler. You would fear him. The backlash if you spoke out against him. You speak out against Putin in Russia and see what happens. You speak out against the Shah of Iran, the supreme leader of Iran, and see what happens. But in America, our most powerful elected official wants to rule by fear, and he will address a civilian because he doesn't align with what you believe. This is what we know about the First Amendment, Skip. We love the First Amendment. We're all for it, as long as I agree with what you're saying. I agree with your protest, as long as they align with what I want to protest. And if it doesn't, then you and I have a problem. But this is where we are now. We should not be shocked. We should not be surprised. And although President Trump wants to take some congratulatory pats on the back that thinks he has something to do with this, I think a small part of these owners and general managers do not believe Colin Kaepernick can play anymore. I do believe a small fragment of the owners and general managers believe that the protest and the outcry of the stance that he took would be too much for them to bear. And then maybe there are 5 or 10 guys that do not want to get that nasty tweet. But I find it ironic. The very man that sued the National Football League, this is the same man that the NFL did everything they possibly could to make sure he could not buy the Buffalo Bills. And then we got an owner flying on the Air Force One, coming and going to Mar-a-Lago. He's golf in 10 weeks. Hey, do you? But my only thing is that at some point in time, we're going to have to stop addressing the kneeling. And we're going to have to start addressing what led Colin Kaepernick to kneel. Because that's the issue that nobody wants to talk about. And you hate the man, Skip, gave $1 million out of his own pocket. All of endorsement money that he got from the jersey sales and his likeness, he donated to a worthy cause that represented the cause that he felt would benefit the people of impoverished communities. He just got his foundation 60,000 pounds of food and water sent to the African nations that's suffering from the famine. And I ask you this, the people that's so upset about Colin Kaepernick's protest, how much money have you donated in your lifetime to help someone else that didn't look like you, that didn't act like you, that didn't talk like you, or didn't have your same religious background?
First of all, I do think Colin Kaepernick had resounding impact in this country. Whether you agreed or didn't agree with his protest, the upshot of it was positively polarizing. Now, back to President Trump. I don't know politics the way you do. I don't follow it the way you do. I know sports. I stick to sports. But in this case, we have crossed the line, as you just pointed out, from politics to sports, and it's all blurred now. And I must admit, even though I try to stay politically neutral, I found this very offensive. But this has been this president's MO, that if you criticize him and you're big enough, he will attack you. This is the same president who, back in February, I believe, called a news conference so that he could attack each of the media outlets that have criticized him one by one. It went on, it seemed like, I watched the whole thing live, it seemed like it went on for an hour. And I'm going to remind you that during his campaign, Colin Kaepernick called Donald Trump openly openly racist.
He did.
Openly racist. That's the phrase.
Yep.
Quote, unquote. And I believe that Donald Trump has enough respect for Kaepernick's stature and his platform that really stuck in his craw. And he was waiting for the opportunity to fire back and, quote unquote, get even the way he tries to get even with anyone who crosses him.
Correct.
And yet, this is just me from a distance. This is my 2 cents. It felt like yesterday that something deeper was operating because clearly, from everything I read, President Trump's approval ratings are plummeting. Different polls suggest more than others, but they are plummeting. Is that fair to say? I think it's fair to say.
It's under 40% in every poll.
Okay, all right. And to me, one of the quickest ways to win back some popularity is to wave the flag or defend the flag. And so to me, he picked the perfect opportunity to defend the flag by condemning Colin Kaepernick for kneeling during the anthem effectively. And obviously, a lot of people in this country did not agree with Colin's the manner in which he chose to protest. And I think that crossed all color lines.
Yes.
I think black, white, whatever color you want. A lot of people just didn't initially agree with the method of protesting. I told you that when the first time I saw it, I cringed until I listened. And then the more my ears opened to his message, the more I said, gee, he's got a profound point. And he's backing up his protest. And in this case, it to me became a sad day when the President of the United States of America drew a line in the sand and he dared NFL owners to step across that line because if you do, you're going to get an angry tweet from the President of the United States condemning you for signing him, right? Well, that's one way to shut up a protester in the United States of America, right?
Yes.
To silence a voice that's been a powerful voice. And as you so correctly point out, in no way did President Trump mention the message of the protest, which was very simply, as we talked about for days and days on this show and other shows I've been on, that this country was facing a shocking new problem, that white cops were killing unarmed black men, many times for no apparent reason, no justifiable reason. And I believe that Colin Kaepernick, he's paying a price for it now,
Yes.
but I believe he brought a lot of attention to that problem. I believe he opened some eyes and some ears that weren't open before he took his literal stance, kneeling or originally sitting for the national anthem. I believe he did have impact, profound impact in this country. He wound up on the cover of, what was it, Time? Good for him. God bless him. God bless America. But it needed to be done, and he did it. And yet we got none of the above from President Trump. And it did feel like a desperate act on the part of the president just to play to the crowd, you know, because they're going to wave flags right back. Yes, thank you, President.
What this president has done is that there are no shades of gray.
Yeah.
You either align with him or you align opposite of him.
Yep.
And that's the way it is now. It's kind of like the Vietnam War, Skip. And I was very small when it was going on, but I read a lot about it. And it was either you were for it or you was 1,000% against it. There was no well, I can see this, but no. And this is where this president is, and this is how he wants it. You either ride with him or you're riding without him.
Yep.
And for him to address a civilian, think about that with Skip. Now, we're not talking about a politician.
Yep.
We're not talking about another a person of his equal status from another country, Putin or Assad or someone like that. We're talking about a civilian.
Yep.
He addressed a civilian in a derogatory and a negative way. That just goes to show you.
In some ways, you would think that would be beneath the President of the United States.
Nothing is beneath him. Nothing.
This issue is not beneath the President of the United States.
No. And he will take, if you take a shot, I believe he has a dossier of everybody that has wronged him or said something negative about him. And if he gets an opportunity, Skip, he's going to let you know.
Well, past presidents have had dossiers.
Yeah.
Right? Back to Nixon, so it's
But
not
I'm saying,
unheard of.
but I don't think they've ever addressed a civilian. Maybe a senator, maybe a congressman. Like I said, maybe someone from another country of equal status.
Yep.
But a civilian, Skip? But this is where we are now. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Well, Skip, you're right. Him drawing a line in the sand also shows something else, though, and that's the power that the NFL has in this country. Because if the president of the United States is addressing a quarterback and the influence that he has on it, and saying, basically threatening the owners in the NFL that, if you do sign this guy, he's daring them.
32 of the most powerful men in the United States of America.
Well, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of cowardly stuff going on right now when it comes to this, and there'll be a lot of people on the wrong side of
now
history.
You get to come on my side, Skip. You get to talk politics and sports. Welcome aboard, Skip Bayless.
Thank you, President Trump. We appreciate that.
Let's get back to the real world.
No mercy. Thanks for listening, guys. Before we get to the next topic, here's Shannon with a message from ZipRecruiter.
Thanks, Joy. Hiring can be a real pain, and it can be difficult to know where to post your job and to find the best candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites, and now you can with ZipRecruiter.com. You can post your positions to over 200 job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. It's that easy. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Nobody has time for that. Quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire them fast and in person. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by the most powerful companies and thousands of small and medium-sized businesses. Right now, listeners of our podcast can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. That's ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed.
Thanks. One more time, our listeners can try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. Now back to the show. No mercy. Kevin Durant watched on the bench last night while his Warriors blew out the Thunder in OKC. Klay Thompson scored 34 points and Steph Curry added 23. They each hit 7 threes in the win. Golden State swept the season series, winning by an average of nearly 20 points a game. Skip, what happened last night?
You know what? Watching that game last night just made me sick.
Why?
First of all, I thought that last night was going to be Russell Westbrook's night to make his loudest MVP case yet. And man, was I wrong about that. I think you were a little wrong about that also.
I might have been more wrong than you.
But here's what made me the sickest. The Golden State Warriors have managed to turn Oklahoma City into the bad guys, into the villains, when it should be the other way around. Because if memory serves, didn't Kevin Durant leave Oklahoma City high and dry for Golden State? Didn't Kevin Durant opt to join forces with a team that had won a record 73 games and should have won the NBA Finals if Draymond hadn't got suspended? But we won't go there today. Yes, that's what happened. Yet, all of a sudden, Golden State came out last night like they were the wronged party, that they were the victims of this rivalry somehow. And they came out with blood in their eyes. They played with madness, I'm talking about literal anger that I have never seen Golden State quite play with. And obviously, Kevin Durant couldn't even play last night. He's sitting in the front row watching this on the bench, which made it all the more humiliating for the hometown team and, of course, the hometown fans. So right out of the box, Steph Curry comes out shooting it like he means it. He's been in a prolonged slump.
He has.
And all of a sudden, Golden State comes out and Klay and Steph are shooting it with vengeance. And Steph Curry makes 3 in the first quarter while Oklahoma City misses its first 5 in the first quarter. You're in trouble. He shot the crowd right out of it. He shot Oklahoma City right out of it psychologically and emotionally. And for the game, if you're going to let, or sometimes it's not letting, if they're going to make 7 threes and 7 threes, Steph and Klay, one goes 7 for 12, one goes for 7 for 15. That was 14 of the 15 threes that Golden State made. If you're going to lose, especially at home, you're going to lose in your building because they're going to shoot you in the heart. They're going to shoot your fans out of their seats. By the end of the game, it was like a third full because it was a rout from the start. I could just tell from the opening couple of minutes, the Thunder were out of it mentally, physically, psychologically, to the point that I felt sorry for Russell Westbrook.
Why do you feel sorry for him so much?
Just against this team, I do, because he deserves some measure of revenge on Kevin Durant. And instead, he's up against the one team, and I always tell you, it's rock, paper, scissors in the NBA, and this is rock versus Oklahoma City scissors. They just crush scissors. Russell Westbrook has now averaged 8 turnovers a game in the 4 losses to Golden State this year, all by an average of 20 points a game. They've lost by an average of 20 in 4 games, and if he's going to turn it over 8 times per game, guess what? You're going to get blown out. And the reason he turns it over 8 times a game to me is he just tries too hard. He plays in hyperdrive. And you know and I know there are times you have to pull it back a little bit, take what the defense gives you. He's just going 1,000 miles an hour trying to attack a defense that will not let him attack. They're all interchangeable parts. They switch the pick and rolls like crazy. Nobody does it better, and nobody defends Russell Westbrook better than this team does. They just take him out of everything he does. He was pathetic. His team was pathetic. The game was pathetic. I wanted to turn it off, but I watched it to the last drop because I have an obligation to come in here and say that I saw the whole game, and I did, and I regretted it. Thank you. Your turn.
Skip, it was actually the first quarter was very close. It was only a 3-point game. And so you're like, okay.
It didn't feel like that to me, but I got you.
But
25 to 22.
Yeah, even though Russell wasn't playing particularly well, you're like, okay, he's going to turn it on a little bit in the second quarter, make it a ball game. And Skip, he got progressively worse. And he started out 1 for 6. And when you shoot 2 for 12 in the first half, Skip, you're not going to be in. If you on his team,
yep,
LeBron can go 2 for 12 because he has Kevin Love and Kyrie. They're up Golden State. Steph and Clay maybe can go 2 for 12.
Yep.
But as long as you got Kevin Durant when he's healthy and you got Draymond, you're going to be okay. But on this team, he can't ever go 1 for 6 in the first quarter because it's going to put him in the deficit. Now, even though they're only 3 points behind, now he comes out and plays like we've seen him play in the past, like the past 4 games, Skip, they got a chance. But what happens is he wants it so bad against this team. It's Kevin Durant, and he sees him on the sideline.
Yep.
He sees his, look, we need to stop thinking this is a one-sided affair. Russell does not like Steph Curry. Steph Curry despises Russell Westbrook.
I agree. I think these teams truly, deeply despise each other.
You got the player, you got Steph and Russ, you got the Thunder, and you got the Warriors. They don't like each other. For whatever reasons, we know a lot of the reasons. KD, as you mentioned, KD left Oklahoma City. They got nothing in return. He went to a prettier, hotter model, and everybody's upset about it. And then the Warriors are taking shots at the Thunder, saying that you should have had a montage, you should have treated him better because he gave you 8 great years. Yada, yada, yada. I get all that. But, Skip, this is not a very good matchup for the Thunder because they're always going to have to play 2 bigs, and their bigs can't switch and get out on those 3-point shooters.
Yep.
And that's the problem. And when they're shooting it like this, Skip, you're going home. You're not going to beat them. If Klay Thompson makes 7 of 15 and Steph makes 7 of 12, if they go like Skip, nobody can beat them if they're going to shoot the ball like this.
Nobody. They'll win if they both make 7 threes, they'll win every game from here on. But you know and I know they won't.
But here's the thing. Let's just say they make 4 or 5. You still got that 7-foot guy with the almost 8-foot wingspan coming back.
Yep.
He's going to throw in his 26. They're going to be tough to beat. Skip, Draymond didn't score particularly well, but he rebounded. He assisted.
He scored 2 points, but he had huge impact.
Huge blocks.
Yep.
Huge block shots.
Yep.
Skip, you look at the 4 games that Westbrook has played against Golden State. He's 37.5% from the floor, under 27% from 3, and his plus minus is minus 66.
That's just outrageously wrong.
He can Skip. In order for these games to be close, he need to be at the bare minimum plus 10, plus 15. Mm-hmm. That's the only chance they have. But we got to stop this notion, Skip. When they lose, he has no help. But when he wins, he's making everybody better because that's what the reoccurring theme is. Those are the same guys that he's got all those triple-doubles with. They didn't add anybody.
Yeah, but they had won 5 in a row, and he had 4 triple-doubles in the 5 wins. So I thought, here they come, here they go.
I thought he would play. I thought he was going to go off.
Yeah.
Considering Kevin Durant, and now he has an opportunity to go one-on-one and doesn't have to worry about weak side help because you always have to worry about Kevin Durant lingering around the lane, to block your shot. Skip, after that second quarter, and then the nail in the coffin, they had a jump ball, Skip, right before the end of the half. Mm-hmm. And Steph runs out and hits a 30-foot 3 and runs straight into the locker room, and they didn't look back. And it was over.
We'll talk about that in one moment, but allow me to add that the cupcake comments. Obviously, Russell took a subtle July the 4th shot at Kevin by posting a picture of cupcakes. It was their inside joke. It's a reference from Kendrick Perkins back in the good old days in Oklahoma City towards soft players. That was their little nickname for soft. You're a cupcake. So the fans chanted cupcake, cupcake, cupcake at Kevin when he returned, remember, on February 11th. Right. Another blowout, obviously.
And they had T-shirts made.
They had T-shirts made. And then, regrettably, Russell the other day, just trying to dismiss a question about Steph's comment about Harden being MVP, said, who's he? Well, I think last night Steph came out to say, I'll show you who I am. Watch this. And he did it right from the start.
Steph dunked the basketball.
Two-hand dunked
and then he shimmied.
Yep, he did. And he said his teammates were yelling for him to probably just lay it up, and he just decided he was going to dunk it. I didn't think he had it in him, but he did.
No mercy. The NBA has faced criticism recently for stars resting during nationally televised games. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver sent out a memo to NBA owners and said teams will face significant penalties if they don't follow league rules for reporting player injuries and illness. Silver added, decisions of this kind do not merely implicate issues of player health and team performance on the court. They can also affect fans and business partners, impact our reputation, and damage the perception of our game. Shannon, will punishing teams for resting players help solve the problem?
No, because you can't police it. All you're going to force them to do is lie. Now you're going to have more back spasm, more ankle soreness, knee soreness than you got in the past. And the teams should have the right to manage their teams that that presents them the best opportunity to win long term. Game 7 last year was the Cavaliers' 103rd game of the year. 103, Skip. And had LeBron maybe not taken those 4 or 5 games off, maybe that 43 minutes, maybe that chase down block doesn't happen. And that's what teams are up against. Tyronn Lue managing this team says, okay, what gives me the best opportunity to compete for a title long term? David Griffin is saying they hired me to do this, and I get it. Everybody wants to see the star players play. But Skip, when it's not a nationally televised game, those fans want to see them too. Because when they sit out and it's not on ESPN, it's not on ABC or TNT, there's no outcry. So I guess those teams that's not on the major markets, that's not on national television, I guess they don't matter. Just if we can see it on Saturday night at 8:30 or a 3:30 afternoon game on a Sunday. Those are the only ones that matter. No, Skip. All you're going to force me to do is lie. Now I got to say LeBron got a stiff neck. Now I got to, LeBron has back problems. You see him when he's warming up, he has that hot compression on his back. So now all you force these teams to do is to come up and lie. Hey, make sure you go to chapel or mass before and say, Lord, forgive me, but I'm about to lie about this because LeBron is not really injured. But I'm going to say that because I want him to have his rest. And that's what Adam Silver is going to do.
I disagree with that. I want to applaud the commissioner for taking prompt action to try to undercut what has become a major problem facing this league. And I told you yesterday I couldn't figure out a solution. I was lost. I think we were both lost. Chris Broussard, we didn't have a fix. We only knew that it was a growing problem.
Yes.
So here's what just happened to me. This won't eliminate the problem, but it will make it even slightly more difficult to rest players because I think it's going to force an owner of a team to pick his battles with the commissioner. Because if I'm understanding this, and maybe this is not realistic or idealistic, but I think the commissioner is saying that if Greg Popovich says, tonight I'm resting 3 or 4 of my starters for a national TV game on TNT, that what's going to have to happen, there's going to have to be a chain of command call made. Popovich is going to have to tell his GM, R.C. Buford, who's going to have to inform his owner, Peter Holt. Nobody even really knows who Peter Holt is because he stays in the background. But Peter Holt is going to have to be told, we are going to rest 4 starters because of X, Y, and Z. Maybe nobody's hurt. Maybe it's just for rest. But then Peter Holt is going to have to attempt to get a hold of the commissioner and explain to the commissioner, hey, sorry about this, but Pop just believes that we need to rest tonight because we got some aging starters. LaMarcus is 31 or whatever, whatever the rationale is.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to painfully explain it to the commissioner. He might have to, so to speak, white lie to the commissioner and say, Kawhi's got a knee that's a little balky tonight. It's troubling him. Maybe it isn't. Maybe that's an exaggeration. But it's going to be painful enough that maybe the next time he goes to make that call, he says, you know what? We need to pick our battles. Maybe we don't need to rest. And maybe Peter Holt calls Popovich and says, you know what? Why don't you play him 15 minutes tonight? Play him 18 minutes. Because, again, Michael Jordan won 6 championships playing high minutes in nearly every game of every season.
And retired
Okay.
for a year and a half.
Okay.
And retired for 2 years.
Okay, he didn't. Okay, we can get into that. But the point is,
But did he
did
go away?
it. Karl Malone played all those games. Kareem played all those games, and they rarely, if ever, got hurt. So I'm not seeing that that's the fix for them. I don't believe, as Chris pointed out correctly yesterday, Chris Broussard, Popovich hasn't been winning championships every year. He's won one in the last, whatever it's been, 10 years? Okay? So I've told you before, I don't love it when he rests down the stretch because oftentimes that team hits the first round. They're not ready for the RPM of the playoffs because they've lost their edge and their flow and their rhythm, and their momentum.
Skip, I love Adam Silver. I think right now he's the best commissioner going. And he's done a great job in the NBA. But Commissioner Silver has 30 bosses.
Okay?
He doesn't tell them what
All right,
to do.
but I think he's got guts too.
That's okay.
I think he stands up because this is for the good of the league. It's not for the good of San Antonio or Cleveland. It's for the good of the product. Let
me tell you how when one of the bosses called. See, let me tell you how when the boss called me, when Jamie Horowitz calls me, he's like, Shannon, I'd like to have a 10:30 meeting with you on Wednesday. Yeah, okay, so that's what's going to happen. One of these owners going to call Commissioner Silver. LeBron sitting out tonight. Kevin Love or James Harden is resting tonight. James Harden knee is a little sore tonight, so he's going to be out. Okay, click. That's how that's going to go. Now all that sounds good. It's really, I mean, it really sounds good. And the fans and
I don't think there's going to be a click on the other end. I think there's going to be, explain this to me. Is James hurt? How hurt is James? What do the medical reports say? It just makes it a little harder to do. And maybe if that call becomes difficult, the next time maybe he thinks twice about it and says, you know what? I don't know if I want to make this call this time.
You know what I'm going to do? This is how I'm going to fix that. I'm going to say, I tell you what, go jump ball, call timeout, come sit down. Is that what you want?
Say again?
I'm going to jump ball. LeBron, go out there. Jump the ball. They score, we score. Timeout. Come sit down, Bron. Is that what you want? Because I can do it however you want to do it. I can make you look foolish, or you can let me do it my way, and we have everybody be happy.
Okay.
Except a few.
To me, if you're making the maximum money that LeBron James is making because he insists
Don't make it
on
about
it for
money,
reasons
Skip.
I don't know. Tim Duncan never asked for max money, but
Tim Duncan
whatever.
never been to 6 straight finals either.
He won, what did he win, 5
He won
rings?
5.
Woo, that's pretty good.
And he never won back-to-back.
LeBron has 3
and he
and Tim
never
Duncan has
won
5.
back-to-back.
Oh, okay.
And he never won back-to-back.
Wow. But he said down the
Never
stretch
won
of his
back to
career, the
back.
last 4 years, he says, I'll take way less so that we can be better down.
Okay, when LeBron gets in the last 4 years, maybe he'll take less.
Okay.
But he in the
So
prime.
LeBron says, I make billions off the court, but I need to make the
77.2.
max.
Stop counting the man's pockets.
Max.
Stop counting his
The
pockets.
max. So he makes the max,
Yeah.
but he says, I got to rest. I don't love it. He should say, you know what? I owe this product of ours that I am the driving force of. I owe them that every night I'll play at least 15 minutes. Go play 15 minutes.
You should say, I owe Cleveland another title, because when I told him I'm coming back, I'm bringing titles with me.
Well,
That's what he owed.
well, Kyrie just brought one to him.
Yeah, Skip, man. Skip, I want you to stop it, Skip. Now,
Did
you
he not?
being disrespectful to the team.
Kyrie is the king of, he's not king of Akron, he's the king of
Hold on.
Cleveland.
Did you
Wait,
see what happened to
LeBron's
the
king
Jazz?
of Akron, but Kyrie is the king of
Did you
Cleveland.
see what happened against the Jazz? When Kyrie and Kevin Love didn't play in the fourth quarter, I said, LeBron, I need you. I said, because Skip Bayless is waiting. I said, I need you to hit 2 threes, and I need you to bring it home.
Russell Westbrook has beaten the Jazz 3 straight times by dominating the game in the fourth quarter. Way to go, LeBron.
Russell
I'm impressed.
Westbrook is shooting under 42%. Russell Westbrook had a -25 rating.
Against Golden State?
When was the last? Let me ask you a question, Skip. When was the last time that LeBron shot less than 50%? How many times?
He's 6'9", 270 pounds.
I don't care if
he's a low post player.
I don't care if he's 7'12". Where there's no such thing that's 8 feet. I know what you're saying. I know you're Skip. You got to stay with me. I got these jokes for you, Skip.
Yeah. I'm not laughing.
Well, all you want to do is...
I got a question for you. What is LeBron's free throw percentage as we speak?
It's about 67.5, 67.6.
Wait, is that Mount Rushmore material? That does 67 for a superstar? That's awful.
Okay, is Bill Russell on Mount Rushmore? What did he shoot? Is Will Chamberlain on Mount Rushmore? What did he shoot?
They're not on Mount Rushmore. Bill Russell is because it was 11 championships.
Look, Adam Silver might work for the owners, but we've seen the NBA get in trouble before, and he works for the owners, but he also has to work in the favor of the good of the league and the players. And the NBA is a star-driven league, unlike the NFL. It's a different league.
That's right.
And he has to answer to sponsors and partners.
And the stars.
Which the owners do not.
And when LeBron says, you might not know it now, but baby, you'll find out and I'm not playing tonight, Skip.
Well, if he says he's not playing,
that sounds becoming of the stars, right?
Then his owner, who does not love LeBron James, is going to have to pick up the phone and call the commissioner and say, hey, he says he ain't playing.
He hates LeBron so much, he paying that luxury tax because LeBron said, get me a player or else.
He always needs more help. No mercy. According to Clarence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Ezekiel Elliott was told by his reps that he will not be punished for potentially violating the NFL's personal conduct policy back in 2016. Meanwhile, this past weekend, TMZ Sports showed a video of Elliott partying on a yacht in Miami. Witnesses say the Coast Guard showed up at the party. Elliott's agent said the Coast Guard wanted to make sure there were enough life jackets and no citations were issued. We're joined by Chris Carter. Welcome, Chris.
Good morning.
What's your take?
Well, as far as this weekend or Zeke in general? Zeke in general, I think that the Cowboys and also the leadership of the Cowboys, not only the player leadership, but the front office, should take notice because what you have is a really special talent. And he has come within arm's distance of a law a couple times already. And we understand the eyeballs that are on the Dallas Cowboys. We understand the eyeballs on the National Football League. We understand all the eyeballs on all the players. Will Zeke be able to handle that? Like, that's the question. It used to be a question, how good can he be in the NFL? Because the running back position, they're not featured. Now we've seen him. Now it's how good can he be? I ask myself, can he handle being a star in the NFL? Can he handle being a star in Dallas?
A star of stars.
Because being a star in the NFL is one thing. Being a star in certain cities, it means different things. And I don't know, based on all the information that I have, talking to people in Dallas. Also, I do have a history with people at Ohio State. So I have heard things about Zeke before. So this is not surprising to me. I thought Zeke would be more careful, especially initially, given how he came into the NFL under an investigation. So for me, I'm not surprised. Do I think this will continue on? I won't be surprised if it continues on. Like, I think Zeke, he's one of them kind of guys that he's not a bad guy, but he stay just close enough to the fire to get hot. And I worry about it. I worry about how successful he can be in handling the success that's already been thrust upon him, because he is a great, great talent. But there are many people that are talented in the NFL, but they can't handle the pressure of the visibility on a day-to-day basis. So that's what I worry about. Can he manage the visibility on a day-to-day basis? Because he's really made some poor judgments in a very short career.
I've been very abundantly clear, that the Cowboys head coach and general manager will never, ever have a peaceful night's sleep, because you're always worried that the phone's going to ring and it's going to be involving Zeke. Now, it's the offseason, and things are different now because you have the cell phone, you have all these videos, you have all this technology. So I'm not surprised by this. Yes. I'm sure the Cowboys are not really surprised, because this is what they do, CC, and you can attest to this. When you're going to go that high, they've done their homework. You see how the FBI found that jersey in Mexico? That's the kind of reach that the NFL has.
Yes.
So when they go do their homework on a guy, they know exactly. They know you stole 15 cents from your grandma in the 3rd grade.
Right.
They know when you walk across the you jaywalk in the 8th grade.
And also, Shannon, based on what the Players Association is saying, right now that the NFL is kind of unveiling a new plan of how they're going to investigate all this information. Like, so it's kind of like you're guilty if your name is brought up before innocent till proven guilty.
You're guilty until proven innocent. And that's the way they're going to approach it. Skip, Skip, I'm sorry. But this is what you're going to have to deal with as long as he's with your Cowboys. There are going to be 1 or 2 incidents, and it's probably not going to be anything illegal, but it's going to be so close to the line that you're going to like, okay, when does he realize that he's not over the line, but he's so close the line is touching him and people can see where there's a problem?
To Chris's point, it's not often that I turn on my TV and I watch something happen during any kind of game and I say, wow, that is special. This kid is really special.
He really is.
This has Hall of Fame potential. You guys realized that potential. But it's a long way from where he is now to that Hall of Fame. And
many a stumbling blocks.
Many. I do not think he's a bad kid. I don't get that feeling. I don't think
comes from good parents.
Sometimes, kid just has a bad heart and he's just a bad seed and it's just not going to work. He's just going to get into trouble. But Zeke has no conscience yet about what's dangerous and not dangerous. He's daring the devil, if not occasionally dancing with the devil out there. And my fear is that he's going to have to fall on his face before he figures it out. And I don't want to see it happen, but you've seen it before in your life and career where, again, it's a little more extreme, but you have to hit bottom before you say, I got to save myself.
Right.
And this is the one where it's almost like every other day. I open up some website and say, he did it again? He did that? So now we're told that he was told that he avoided NFL punishment.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure he was told that before he decided on St. Patrick's Day or Eve or whenever it was to go to a rooftop bar on the edge of downtown Dallas, looking down at thousands of people who are looking up with him with all kinds of cell phone cameras, and he did that to her, right?
Yep.
So now you think you can get away with just about, you're bulletproof, man. You're invincible because you play for the Dallas Cowboys in one of the more dangerous cities in America for pro football players, right? Ask Michael Irvin about that, as you well know. Many Dallas Cowboys. So I even advocated the other day, is it time, Jerry Jones, and I know this is demeaning and belittling to Ezekiel Elliott, but is it time to do what you did for Pac-Man Jones or Des Bryant, and you get him a quote-unquote babysitter? You get him 24-hour, whatever you want to call it. Is it security or somebody to watch over and try to keep Zeke out of harm's way? Do you need that guy? I think it worked for Des. I don't think it worked for Pac-Man.
Well, this is the thing, Skip, that Ezekiel is not the same kind of kid and doesn't have the same, say, violent background
he
as
doesn't.
Des Bryant
I'm
or
with
Pac-Man.
you. Totally agree.
I mean, those guys come from a different, much respect to what they come
Mm-hmm.
from, but they come from a different environment. What I'm concerned about with Zeke is the overall lack of respect. Lack of respect for the Cowboys, lack of respect for the Shield, and as we saw on St. Patty's Day, lack of respect for the young lady that was there, because that was someone's daughter, that's someone's sister, and to me, publicly just showing a lack of respect and lack of conscience of what's really going on in your life. Now, how is he going to handle being in the National Football League? I mean, because it just gets bigger and bigger. The monster gets bigger and bigger until eventually, if you don't control the monster and put it on a leash, the monster eats you up.
It does.
And that's what I'm concerned about.
What did his father say before he even played his first down?
Naive.
He doesn't know how to navigate being a superstar, okay?
And you mentioned, Skip, you said
Now, the
conscience.
dad moved to
He
Columbus.
did, to Columbus, yeah.
From St. Louis.
You might need to move to Dallas.
I'm sure they've made plans. But the thing about Zeke at this point, because as when you get in your young 20s, you get a little separation. If you and your dad have been close, like sometimes there's a little separation there.
Yep.
And from what I'm hearing, I think Zeke has that going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you try, because think of normally, when you go to college, that's your time to become your own person. You ain't trying to have mom and dad move there, and dad and mom, they glad to get you out of the house. They've been waiting for this day for 18 years. like my grandfather told me, what I told him, CC, you get 1830, your 18th birthday, you got 30 days to get that H up out of my house. So normally, his conscience.
Let me stop you for a second, because I know the family, and they really made the right decision. And I would say this, especially the way Zeke struggled his freshman year, had that wrist injury. I don't know if he would have been the same player, because emotionally what he went through, like he knew he was a star, but he couldn't play because he was hurt.
Right.
And the parents being there and that comfort, it helped him get to this point.
Absolutely. But it goes to, you say it's his conscience. And that's what little kids, see, little kids don't believe something is hot, and then they touch it, and you never have to tell them hot again. You know, you don't bother that, you know, don't bother the dog snaps at him. You never have to worry about that again. And I'm afraid, and I hope I'm wrong, that something doesn't have to happen to Zeke to get his undivided attention to say, open his eyes and say, these are the pitfalls, these are real. And if I'm not careful, these are the trappings that can end it all for me.
Yeah, and I don't think he understands the magnitude of everything. I don't think he understands the daily regimen it takes to be an NFL player and being great, being on time, being punctual, being a man of your word. He's struggling with those things too. So this is not just one thing. I just personally know when the NFL, when they call Zeke and he has an appearance, man, you have to call him 3 or 4 times. You have to make sure he gets on the flight. There's a lot of things the NFL is going through with him already, just being 1 year in. And this is his first offseason.
That was a super. No, I don't know.
This is the first offseason.
I don't want to. I'm not gonna put the man business out there. But Skip, what are we noticing, Skip? Every time, what's normally involved in the picture is partying. What do they do at parties, Skip? And what do I tell you about what alcohol does? It doesn't change morals. It changes conscience. That's what it changes. Because alcohol doesn't allow you to do anything you didn't at least think about while you were sober. It breaks down your inhibitions and gives you the courage to go do it.
I like that.
So this, Skip, you said that alcohol, partied on the boat, you know, pulling the lady's top down. But I'll tell you one thing. There's another guy that came in the same draft, and the only time you saw him out was one time, but who was he with?
Unfortunately, he was with that guy.
So think about Dak, like whoa.
They're both spewing champagne.
And Dak
talking about Dak Prescott.
And Dak said, you know what? Nah, I'm done, bro.
Yet, I've been told by many in Dallas that Dak is the best thing that ever happened to Zeke because he does hang with him enough to try to keep him on the straight and
He's a little more mature.
Yeah.
But see, Dak's in the lab working on something. You know,
when you're a running back, it's natural. All you got to do is just stay in shape and hopefully stay out of jail.
Well, to Skip's point, it feels like it's every other day, so it seems like he doesn't mind touching the hot stove so much.
Yeah. It ain't burning me out. It's like, you know, he's hovering over it. Sometimes you got to.
It's a little bit of entitlement there. No mercy. Jay Glazer is with us. Yesterday, we showed some video of the alleged theft, but we needed to blur the face of the accused. So now we have more video. Jay, welcome. You have a few things you want to set the table with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this whole thing is just beyond bizarre. We said yesterday, if I was going to come into you guys as a Hollywood scriptwriter and try and sell this to you guys would kick me out of the room for who's involved, how they've gone about this. So as you said, we're about to show you the video. Yesterday, we blurred it for legal reasons. Now we don't have to, so we're going to show it to you unedited in that way. Plus, there'll be some extra video in this as well, and you could just see how brazen he was about this. So we can show this video here. You're going to see him, and he is 6 people behind Bill Belichick, walking in well before the rest of the media. There you see him as well. He is with a newspaper in Mexico called La Prensa, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And there you see him there looking up at one of our cameras right there. And this video, again, helped. It was part of the investigation for the FBI and authorities in Mexico and NFL security to actually apprehend him, right? Drinking water. And then you see him walk out there with something under his arm. The jersey was in that black bag under his arm.
So that's before the media ever is allowed in.
Yeah, he actually, if you watch our timestamp, there's a big difference in time there. There's about 10 minutes also that's unaccounted for on that video where he actually went and was able to take the video. But yeah, it's amazing. He walked in there with Belichick like he was almost part of the team. And just walked around mulling about.
Should his credential have allowed him to blend into the Patriot group?
No. His credential was not one that, even if you had a proper credential, you weren't allowed in at that time.
So who exactly?
He knew what he was doing.
His name is Mauricio Ortega. Who exactly is Mauricio Ortega?
That's one of the crazier parts of the story. This is not like some little petty theft or a little stringer. You know, this is a major, major name down in Mexico. He is an editorial writer and a director over at one of the biggest, most highly circulated papers in Mexico. And he's been using these credentials to go down. Yesterday we broke that Von Miller's helmet was also in his possession. There were 2 jerseys of Tom Brady at 2 different Super Bowls. So that's the story, the part of the story that's even crazier. It's not like we're dealing with some petty thief. This is a huge guy that was, and he was very well known, obviously, down in Mexico as a very big journalist.
He might just be a klepto.
Obviously, he is.
He just might just got to, because think about it, Skip. I mean, think about what it takes for you to, in this moment, to just go into a locker room and take a jersey. That's not good enough.
Well,
I'm going to go to the next Super Bowl. That's not good enough. I'm going to follow it up. And you know what? If he wasn't caught, guess what he's going to do in Super Bowl 52?
Well, he's been going to Super Bowls now for about a decade. And TMZ yesterday showed him having selfies with all these different stars throughout the years. And it really is. And when you see how he does it, he's comfortable, right? He's not nervous in this locker room. You see him here again. And with the unblurred video here, you're able to see how comfortable he is just walking in. Obviously, he's done this before. And, you know, he's mulling about like he's one of the members of the team. You'll see it right here, too. Members of the team are still coming into the locker room. And he's in there well before some members of the team. This is a point right here. We believe actually he's kind of casing out Tom Brady's locker.
So have you heard any more about the specifics? Did he just march straight over to Brady's bag and lift the jersey? Do you have any intel?
So during this time, again, we have the video here, but sources I've talked to who have knowledge of what happened there and how he did it. Because obviously that's the thing. How do you just walk over and take something? They said, as you know, he likes the selfies. They believe he was walking over, taking a selfie, just kind of blending in with the celebration. And then Tom had taken the jersey off, given it to somebody, had it brought into the locker room, and then that was in a bag in Tom Brady's bag. He then pulled that out of Tom's bag, put it in his own black bag, and as you see, walked out of the locker room.
Because if you remember yesterday, Skip, he's not looking in his equipment bag with his helmet and shoulder pads. He's looking into his bag that he actually brought to the stadium, which is, I know this because I was thinking about getting one. That's a Tom Ford duffel. So he's looking at that. He said, I know I put that jersey in this bag.
Okay, so where's the jersey right now?
Okay, well, this is a little developing story. This morning, actually, I learned that as we speak, the jerseys are, in fact, back in Boston. I believe they're in an FBI office there in the Boston area, where they're still making sure they authenticate it so they can give it back to the Patriots, I think as early as tomorrow. Tom Brady's on vacation, so he's not able to go get it yet, but he's obviously been apprised of this whole thing. But also, I'm being told that Von Miller's helmet is going to be transported, I think as early as today, if it hasn't already been, to the FBI office in the Denver area for them to authenticate that and try and give that back to the Denver Broncos and Von Miller.
It's evidence, Skip. We can't just give it back to it. We got to make sure everything.
You have to make sure it's the right thing, right? You have to make sure it's authenticated. And by the way they authenticate also, you know, you talk about chips and all that stuff. There's also, they do DNA testing. And from what I was told today, that the jerseys, a lot of guys, or maybe all of them, it's already game-worn jersey, a jersey that you guys wear, right? Not special, that you just put a patch on. So Tom's jersey's already been kind of fit to him. So, which I didn't know. I thought you guys got brand new jerseys for the Super Bowl. So using already they're
already worn.
Game-hemmed jerseys are already worn. They then put all the patches on. So obviously they're able to lend it that this is Tom Brady's jersey.
That's why everybody wants it, Skip, because every jersey is modified to the player's specifications.
Right.
This is not something that you just get out of bag. So the jersey's already cut to his waist. The sleeves are like he like it. Now Tom, I don't think Tom takes his jersey down. A lot of quarterbacks would take one side down because they don't want the lineman to be able to grab them or guys to sack them. So these jerseys, that's why they're so sought after, because these are the actual jerseys that are worn. When you hear game worn, that ain't no stuff they pull out the bag and just alter. No, he's worn this jersey for every home or away game. I think they were the away team this time. So every away game, they've had that white jersey on. That's just with the NFL logo patch.
Just got a text also from a close friend of Tom's who was texting yesterday saying, and Tom got back to him basically saying that the whole thing is unreal. He's on vacation, but he is incredibly appreciative. The FBI, the job they did on this, it was old-fashioned just legwork and trying to go scour every piece of information they can to get this. And people are wondering, why are they doing this? And the FBI is involved. Again, that jersey has been valued at $500,000. Then you have another jersey, and then Von Miller's helmet. We're talking about
the last 2 MVPs.
Stolen merchandise over state lines and then international soil. It's definitely something for...
Okay, FBI, you done found these jerseys and helmets. I need to know who killed Biggie and Tupac.
Oh, God. Well, Jay, thank you.
That's a whole nother video.
Thank you for your work on the story.
Good job.
Amazing.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a great job. It really is like a Hollywood.
Crazy.
It's like a
beyond
movie.
Crazy.
You had Tom Brady's jersey.
No. Jay has been all over the story, and he'll be revealing even more information coming up at 1:30 Eastern on The Herd. Jay, thanks so much for joining us.
No mercy.
This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Hopefully we gave you some Tuesday motivation and food for thought. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. Tune in tomorrow for more Undisputed.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.